66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Is that hairline slowly starting to move backwards? Any bald spots, people? How will you feel a year from now if it's business as usual up there? I ask you, why do guys turn to weird solutions or do nothing when they can turn to medicine and science? 4hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and other wellness supplements for men. That's the way to go, y'all. Thanks to science, boldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. No waiting room, no awkward in-person doctor visits. Save hours by going to 4hims.com. Order now. My listeners get a trial month for Hims for just $5 today, right now while supplies last. See website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's 4hims, FORHIMS.com/Stephen A. 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Oh, it's the best Friday of the year. Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and ESPN News. Michael Eaves, Matt Barrie in for Stephen A. Smith, brought to you by Discover Card. We treat you like you'd treat you, which is why we think annual fees are ridiculous. We bet you do too. To see all the ways Discover is looking out for you, go to discover.com or give us a call at 1-800-DISCOVER. Time now for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. You can't get any more Straight Talk, Michael Eaves, than the fact that Aaron Donald just got paid.
See, like, here's the deal. So Matt and I were talking about doing the show today for a couple of days and came in with Kentucky shirt. He brought the Arizona State helmet. We're going to talk about college football because it's the last Friday before the big weekend of college football starts. And we're all hyped to talk a lot of college football. And then all of a sudden, Aaron Donald gets paid. And I mean paid. He got quarterback paid.
Yeah.
$87 million guaranteed, which is third in the league overall. Not in his position, not on defense, third overall behind only Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan. Dude got paid on a Friday like Johnny Kemp.
And a guaranteed money is what we're talking about in terms of guaranteed money. When you look now, because we get into the NFL about this all the time, about, to win in the NFL, you have to have a franchise quarterback, which in large part is true. But this week alone, Adam Schefter put this out to put this week into perspective. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who's got the richest deal of all time in NFL history. Mm-hmm. You've got Odell Beckham Jr. now getting the biggest deal in NFL history for receivers. Mm-hmm. And now you've got Aaron Donald, who just inked and agreed to the largest defensive contract of all time. Mm-hmm. Money in the NFL is really, really good.
Yes.
And Aaron Donald seems to have this played out perfectly. It is hold out, say that I'm worth more, show up and ball out, be Defensive Player of the Year, be an All-Pro, do whatever I have to do to prove it again, hold out again, now get paid. And now you look at the Rams. Yes. And we were talking about this. Where the Rams got all this money, I don't know, and how they spent all this money, that's all well and good. But if they are not now the representative of the NFC, at least in the NFC Championship, they've put themselves in a position to consider the season a failure if they don't get that far.
They put in all their chips. They cashed in. It's like, we're doing it right now because we've got a really good quarterback, we believe. We got a really good young running back. We got a good receiving core. We've bolstered our defense across the back, and now we got Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh up front. We're going all in right now. And here's the deal. Let's go back a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We kept talking about, when is Aaron Donald going to get paid? When is Aaron Donald going to get paid? Because seemingly everybody on the Rams was getting paid except Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
But maybe this was the master plan of the Rams the entire time. Let's get these little deals worked out, and then we'll do this for Aaron Donald because we know we have to get it done, and we can get it done the week before, and he'll be ready for week one, which they said he will be. How many snaps he plays, that's one thing. But maybe this is all part of the master plan by the Rams that started last year. When they came out hot, they were at least a year or two ahead of schedule with their result last year. Even though they didn't make the NFC title game, just the regular season they had, they were ahead of schedule. And then the realization hit, you know what? This is the window. Open up the window, throw the cash at it. Let's go for it right here and now because nothing is guaranteed in professional sports, especially the NFL.
He was in the final year of his rookie deal, supposed to make $6.9 million this season. He is obviously, without question, the most valuable player on this roster. We had mentioned a second ago of guys they were paying. They paid Gurley his extension. They got Brandon Cooks in the fold, paid his extension, and Ndamukong Suh comes cheap for Ndamukong Suh. But you look at all the moves the Rams make, and now the obvious question now dangling because we've got Odell Beckham signed, we've got Aaron Donald signed. These men are part of the 2014 draft class. The last guy's Khalil Mack.
Yes.
And so one wonders now, because I've said it, we were talking about it pre-show, that I just don't think that Khalil Mack is in the conversation of best defensive player in the NFL or most valuable player in the NFL.
Wait. Why do you believe that, though? He was a former player of the year.
Yes, he's done that.
All pro at 2 positions.
Yes.
But you think he's not in the conversation of best defensive player?
Not after this money. It's different between now, because I believe Aaron Donald at his position and what he does. Don't get me wrong, Khalil Mack's an all-world, all-pro type player. But for what Aaron Donald does for his team and brings to his team collectively with this group, I just don't think Khalil Mack's people can look at this deal and say, see, we deserve that and we want that. I don't think
they're going to try
they're going to do it.
They're going to try to.
And I think this deal could harm Khalil Mack in that he can't go reach for this, which they will try.
Yeah.
I think that they need to start looking at annual salary where they can compete with this deal. But in terms of $87 million guaranteed, I mean, he's not going to get that.
If he gets 80, is he going to be offended?
He shouldn't.
Right. So then the question becomes, if you are the Raiders, what value do you place on Khalil Mack? Not necessarily relative to the money, although that's ultimately what determines it, but to your team. Because that is how you have to look at putting together your roster for the long term. If you believe that you have the quarterback in Derek Carr, you have some other pieces, and you're going to make this move to Las Vegas, and when you get there, you want to be able to contend for a Super Bowl right away to maximize on all of that, how can you not say that you need Khalil Mack on your defense to make that happen because of what he's already done? So I think you can make the argument that as presently constructed, we'll ask Jeff Saturday this coming up a little bit later here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, is Khalil Mack more valuable to the Raiders than Aaron Donald is to the Rams because of what's around Aaron Donald compared to maybe what is not around Khalil Mack on the defense?
Look, he's their best player, and it's not even close. That's
correct.
Non-debatable. But what you're going to have now is you're going to have the Raiders front office. They're going to have their sheet of paper with numbers that Aaron Donald just agreed to and Aaron Donald's stats. And then they're going to come to the table and say, hey, look, here's what's out there. Aaron Donald's done this. We can't give you that. But we think that you're among the best at your position. We'll offer you $75 million guaranteed with the package of the deal. But this ultimately helps the Raiders because now they know that there's a number out there. Because the Rams made the first move. Correct.
At least maybe in their eyes, like you said, a ceiling.
But at this point, now Max Price saying, well, there goes that money. Now I best try to get into the... And by the way, $75 million now makes you the 4th highest paid player in the NFL.
In terms of guaranteed money. And not just at your position or defense. That's quarterbacks behind you. You would be behind Aaron Donald and only Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers above that. So that's very respectable. The question is, if you were Khalil Mack and his representatives, what number did you have in mind prior to Aaron Donald getting $87 million?
We don't know because what we know is that the conversations picked up in earnest yesterday when the Rams cleared some space from their cap, cleared some money to get this deal done. You know the numbers are being worked and talked about. But that would be interesting because his agent, Khalil Mack's agent, hasn't said anything about the negotiations, how many conversations have been had. But I would be curious to know if Khalil Mack's agent's sitting there going, damn.
Oh, he got 87? Oh,
we were only asking for...
Yes. So now our number has changed. Of course it has to change because anytime you go to a negotiation, there's a number you want. There's a number you would... Pretty much we know going to a negotiation what number we would accept.
Yep.
Right? We've all been in some type of negotiation. Matt and I, we have contracts here at ESPN, but we've also bought houses.
Real estate, yep.
Those are negotiations, things like that. So you always have an idea of what you want to get out of something or what you're willing to pay for something either way. But you have to start at a point that you can work backwards from if you are Khalil Mack because you want Aaron Donald money, right? So maybe I start there, but I really take 75, but I'm going to start at 87. I'm going to start at 88 maybe. But if I got 75, we good. Let's do this.
Let me tell you this too, because you're looking at the 2014 draft class, which right now with Beckham, the highest paid receiver of all time, Aaron Donald, the highest paid defensive player of all time, you're looking at a pretty damn good draft class.
Yes.
You throw Khalil Mack on paper in there and get him paid, and you get all of these guys with their team in camp going into the regular season, you've got to look at two things. One, a very successful offseason for these players and for this draft class.
Right.
But then all of these teams, these younger teams, you hit it on it a second ago. Is there a better situation in terms of young teams in the league than you've got up in Northern California, at least for now, before they go to Vegas, with Carr being a young quarterback, Amari Cooper, a young receiver, Marshawn Lynch comes home for a season. We'll see what he can do. But now you've got the young Rams.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, the state of California that had, one NFL team 2 years ago now has 3, one of which we think could be the best team in the NFC. And the Chargers, by the way, you can't laugh them out of the building. And so I hope for Khalil Mack, he can sacrifice and take $75 million and get into it.
Hey, I mean, I'm not Khalil Mack, but I'd be happy with 75, but Aaron Donald maybe set the ceiling instead of the floor. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. So now from the NFL to college football, what we really wanted to talk about when we started this show prior to Aaron Donald dropping that news on us, we got Jason Fitz in to help us do that.
Wait. A lifelong diehard Raiders fan.
Yeah,
you're gonna just take
hold on. Information I did not previously have.
It's fine.
Information I didn't previously have.
My arm on this side is everywhere.
I've never been this close to your arms.
It's everywhere I've ever lived, and then the things in my life I'm proudest of that I've accomplished. So it's a skyline of all the cities, and then billboards from all the different things.
Gotcha.
Up here, you will see the outline of the Raiders shield with the national anthem in it from when I played the national anthem before a Raiders game for my beloved Raiders.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in other words, it's personal.
Yeah. So
are you an Oakland Raiders fan or an LA Raiders fan?
Or a Las Vegas Raiders fan?
Okay, so fun fact, I was born in Vegas, but when I was a kid in Vegas, they were in LA.
Right.
So for me, the Raiders have always been, the Raiders, doesn't matter what city they're in.
California, really.
All I ever supported from my beloved Oakland Raiders was that they get a fantastic stadium, don't care where. So it happens to be in Vegas. That works out really well for me on a hometown stint, but I'm just a Raiders fan. I don't care what.
Okay, so as a Raiders fan, if your team does not sign Khalil Mack and instead trades him, how do you feel?
There is 0% chance the Raiders will trade Khalil Mack. And I say that, so I will die on that hill, because what are you going to give me in return? If your answer is draft picks, think about one thing, John Gruden. When has John Gruden ever cared about young talent? He never built a team on you.
Right.
He takes veteran players. He wants veteran guys he can rely on. This year, he's made the roster older and slower all the way across the board, but he likes veteran players. I don't think, which means the only way you're getting Khalil Mack is if you give up enough veteran star power to match what Khalil Mack means.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No.
That's why I think that all of this is, at some point, we have to remember where all of the leverage belongs. He's in the 5th year of his of his contract. They can still franchise him twice. Khalil Mack can be mad. He can sit out all year. He can sit out all next year. He can do that all day long if he wants to. But the fact is, he has zero power in this negotiation.
And that's why the Raiders have been acting this way. It's like, look, do what you want. But we had said a second ago, at least they have a contract to work with Aaron Donald. You're listening to Jason Fitz, by the way, host Spain and Fitz weekdays, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. And the College Football Show on Twitter debuts 7 p.m. Eastern. I want to get to that show in just a minute, but I started the program here, Stephen A. Smith, Michael Eaves, and Matt Barrie in for Stephen A., about how I believe this is the greatest Friday of the year because it's the official start of all things football, college this weekend, NFL next weekend. When you look at the college football season as a whole, if you're going into tomorrow, and I asked each of you, what was the biggest storyline that you were watching off-season, now rolling into the first Saturday? Jason Fitz, what would you tell me?
Jalen Hurts. I mean, there's a piece here where we just take for granted the fact that at the end of the national championship game, when Jalen Hurts, who's won a lot of football for Alabama, was sat down at the half, Tua Tagovailoa comes in, he gets one good half of football, and we've suddenly anointed him as a Heisman favorite from one good half of football. And I'm not saying that he's not special. I'm not saying he's not talented, but there's a piece since that moment has happened, and Jalen handled it so perfectly right after the game, said all the right things. Since then, he has not said all the right things. He's come out and been more vocal. There has to be some concern. If you're Alabama and you're an Alabama fan, if you have one point of concern, it's that the guy that doesn't win the job, because I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to be the starting quarterback, that means that Jalen Hurts is going to be in that locker room, and I don't think there's any reason that he would be quiet, and I don't think there's any expectation he should be quiet.
See, here's where I think Tua's going to eventually be the starter. I don't think you're going to learn anything about the Alabama quarterback position tomorrow, because I think you're both going to play a lot. I think you're going to see both of them out there a lot. I don't think this gets cleared up until week 3.
Even if you see both a lot, don't you think that there's a clear-cut message from the get-go? I mean, the fact that they haven't addressed Jalen at any point during this offseason, the fact that they haven't sat down and said,
that speaks like
here's
Nick
the plan.
Saban and his coaching staff.
No.
And for Jalen Hurts, as you said, considering what he has done for this team, for them not to talk to him, I think that's beyond disrespectful.
Absolutely.
And inconsiderate.
But if there's any one coaching staff that has a different sales pitch than the others, when they walk into houses, we always talk, like with Urban Meyer, how much have we been talking about? You sit across from a mom and dad and you say, hey, I'm going to take your son and raise him into a young man. Like that's part of that's not the Alabama sales pitch. Nick Saban walks in and says, you know what we do? You want to play in the NFL?
We win championships.
We win championships, and you're going to have the shot to play in the NFL. Come here, compete at the highest level. If you're in for that, go for that. He's not that guy that's coming in saying, hey, we're going to make everybody.
No, but I'm also sick of hearing that Jalen Hurts is a victim here. He just didn't perform. Look, the move to Tua. We were at Tuscaloosa at the beginning of last year, and we heard about this true freshman from Hawaii named Tua Tagovailoa. We couldn't pronounce his name at the time. Like, it's Tagovailoa.
Right.
About how this kid in practice was just slinging a football better than anyone they've ever seen at Alabama in Nick Saban's tenure. This kid's good. He's not ready. Jalen Hurts got the starting job his true freshman year because they had nobody, including Blake Barnett, who got the ceremonial start against USC. But 3 games left in the season, Jalen just started to struggle, and the offense had started to sputter, and they were seeing in practices that Tua was getting ready. Maybe they handle it differently with Jalen Hurts in the offseason, but Nick Saban isn't here to care about anybody's feelings. He's here to win football games. So if Tua's that guy and he just makes them better, he appreciates what Jalen Hurts has done for the program. But
does he?
Right now,
does he?
Tua's the guy.
Jalen doesn't feel that way. Jalen doesn't feel that way.
Well, of course, Jalen
you
doesn't
can
feel
say
that
it,
way.
Matt. But if Nick Saban hasn't shown it, why would Jalen Hurts?
What's he looking for, though? What kind of love does Jalen Hurts need? He was the starter. He didn't produce.
But you want to, just realistically, let's for what each of us does for a living. Let's say you're just doing a radio show and things are going okay, maybe not great, but they're going okay. And then you walk in one day and they're like, hey, just sit out in the hall. Like I'm walking into Spain and Fitz and they're like, hey, sit out in the hall. We're going to let Matthew Barrie take it from here.
That's not what's going on in Alabama.
How is it not?
If you and I are doing a show together and I come in and we just start performing and then you haven't been performing and they're like, you know what? You've been stumbling on your words. You haven't been making sense. And by the way, you've lied on air twice. We're going to let him do the last half of the show. That's what happened at Alabama. Jalen Hurts wasn't performing, and Tua, and they needed a shot in the arm.
Yes,
but again, now you're
one
the
bad
guy
show would mean you'd be done on that show altogether. But in the interim, what conversations were held before there was an opportunity for you to compete for your show again?
So you're telling me not once in spring ball there wasn't a conversation with Jalen Hurts and a quarterback and a coach.
So you think Jalen Hurts was lying when he told the media that?
That they would have a conversation about what?
About the start. Jalen Hurts said no one talked to me about this position all offseason. But you thought he was lying when he said that.
No, but I don't know what conversation you want them to have.
But you just said
let me ask you this. So we're going to go back to this real life application.
Right.
The 3 of us doing a show, all of a sudden one of us gets benched, right? The other real part of this application is that it's not just about Nick Saban. It's not just about Jalen Hurts. It's about the rest of that locker room. You want to tell me if we've been working together and we've been working together for 3 years and things are going good and all of a sudden you hit a little run of bad shows and you find your way out and none of the programming directors are talking to you. You don't know what's going on. You're showing up, but you just get sat outside the door. You want to tell me that he and I aren't going to be sitting here saying, what are they doing?
Correct.
What are they doing? That's the locker. That's the story this year.
Now,
what does the locker room feel like?
I will say this fractured Ohio State's locker room after Cardale Jones came in when JT Barrett got hurt. He won him the Michigan game, he won him the Big Ten championship, and he won him the national championship, and he won the playoff game. And Urban Meyer coming in the next year, JT Barrett was coming back. He was a Heisman guy before he got hurt against Michigan. He comes back and says, you know what? Cardale just won me the national championship. He gets to start week 1. And that came out later that it fractured the locker room because the guys wanted JT Barrett. And I'm not saying that can't happen here. I don't know what kind of person Tua is. I know he's a hell of a quarterback, and he's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. My point is that...
Do we know through one half of football that he is a hell of a quarterback and then he will absolutely be better than Jalen Hurts?
100%.
No. What we do know is from a skill set standpoint, he can do some things that Jalen Hurts can't do. But there's more to playing quarterback than just that. Matter of fact, if you go back to that game, besides the touchdown that won the game, what about the play right before that? That was an idiotic.
Yeah, he took a sack.
It was an idiotic play, though.
Yeah, but he's a true freshman, right?
Oh, so now we're giving him some leeway here that we're not giving other players.
Jalen Hurts fumbled his first college snap against USC, and USC recovered, and we trotted him back in.
Else.
He just dropped the snap.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing that Tua is the better quarterback. I'm not even disagreeing that he should get the starting job. I'm just saying that I think it's a story worth watching how the personalities handle that within the locker room.
No question.
Because that's
what will matter.
And also, as much as we keep talking about the Big Ten, and the Big Ten, they have the best division in all of football. I get that. Let's not forget that Alabama did not have a cakewalk through the SEC last year, right?
No, I mean, Auburn.
There is exactly, and Auburn this year, depending on what Stidham looks like as a quarterback, could take a step forward. If they do, they've got to look at it and say, hey. So Alabama's, they're up against it. Georgia's going to be stacked and amazing. So you have to look at it at some point and say those little locker room things could make a difference for the first time.
And I do believe that with Tua at quarterback, I think Alabama averages 45 points a game. With Hurts at quarterback, 30. Is that enough to win? Sure. But I think he gives them a dynamic that we haven't seen at Alabama in Nick Saban's time. We just haven't seen it.
That's true. I'll give you that. There's no question about that.
I don't disagree.
But it is about how you handle things because, as Fitz says, it goes beyond just those two guys. It affects everyone else because if they see you mistreat someone in their mind, if you mistreat someone in their mind, what are you going to do with me? What are you going to do with my boy? Like, how is it going to affect everything else? Like, all that matters. Now, granted, it's Nick Saban's world. It's not a democracy.
There you go.
It's an autocracy. I get it. But at the same time, there are repercussions for your actions.
Let me ask
you
this,
how you
though.
handle it matters.
Who said, when we were just talking a second ago, Nick Saban goes into living rooms and I'm going to send double-digit players to the NFL every year. And you know what? You might have to wait your turn. If these kids are going to Alabama to compete for championships and go to the NFL, then they're not the normal team where they're looking at their coach and they're saying, oh, he mistreated a guy. I don't want to play for Nick Saban. Well, then don't, because Saban's going to go get 3 more of you. You brought up the Big Ten. I want to get to them before we get you out of here. Jason Fitz joining us now, Eaves and Barrie, filling in for Stephen A. Smith. I think of all the conferences this year, the Big Ten's the conference most likely to send 2 teams to the playoff.
I'd agree.
Thoughts?
I agree with that. I think the only reason I have any hesitation with Wisconsin is because I can't trust quarterback play at Wisconsin. But think about how often we have apologized for losses for the SEC, rightfully so, because it's been so tough. The SEC West, particularly. The Big Ten's in that same boat. When you talk about Michigan and you talk about Michigan State and Ohio State, you look up and down, they have the opportunity. You can get a loss and still get away with it.
It's still the SEC, dude. Like, let me say this. I think the Big Ten has more teams. They have a deeper amount of teams that would give them a greater possibility of having 2.
Yep.
All right. But I think in the SEC, their 2 or 3 at the top are really heavy favorites to be in the mix for 2 teams from that conference, whether it's Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia, just off the top of my head. I think those 3 are really strong 3 compared to the overall depth of the Big Ten.
You look at Ohio.
But as Fitz said, I just can't trust too many teams in the Big Ten because they've let their fans down so many times in the past.
They do it every year.
I'm
big on Wisconsin this year. I think Wisconsin's really good, but they could have a letdown.
That offensive line is good.
They're awesome. Jonathan Taylor's awesome. They got a 3-year starting quarterback in Alex Hornibrook. I think they're going to be really good. I think Michigan is being the most disrespected team in the Big Ten. I think Michigan's going to beat Notre Dame. They've got 9 returning starters on defense and a quarterback finally. I mean, they're the 4th best team in the Big Ten.
If they don't do it this year, then that Harbaugh magic doesn't exist.
Imagine the reaction of college football fans if we end up with 2-2. 2 from the SEC, 2 from the Big Ten.
Give me a Big Ten SEC challenge.
Give it to me.
Yeah.
Burn it all down. I love it.
Quickly promo, Twitter show, 7 Eastern. Tomorrow, you and Trevor Scales.
Yeah, we'll be on from 7 to 8 on Twitter. You can find it on the ESPN Twitter handles. We're going to do things on that Twitter handle that have never been done before on digital shows. We're going to be showing highlight packages right then. We're going to get you caught up on everything that happened during the day. Plus, we're going to get you set for the night. Marty Smith going to hang out with us. Maria Taylor going to hang out with us. Golic at Spain are going to make appearances. All sorts of people.
Can we come?
Sports Center guys.
No. Like, wait till we get a Kentucky game that matters. So, like, 4 years from now. You're wearing the shirt.
Wow. I am. I'm representing. He's got a helmet. Like, what do you want me to do here?
I mean, that's fair.
He forgot to wear a shirt.
The tie's nice, though.
Jason Fitz, good stuff.
Thanks for having me.
coming in. Appreciate the tattoo story. Coming up, we're going to get back to what we discussed at the top of the show. If you want to weigh in, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. You can call us about Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, which one of those is more valuable. You can call us with your college football storyline you're most excited for. That coming up next. Eaves and Barrie in for Stephen A. Smith on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Here's Rob, a big fan of Simple Safe Home Security. Their system is prepared for everything. If a storm takes out your power, Simple Safe is ready. If your phone line gets cut, Simple Safe is ready. If your keypad gets destroyed, Simply Safe will get you help you need. Maybe you don't need to be ready for every worst-case scenario, but that's what makes Simply Safe great. It's always ready. That's why I recommend Simply Safe to everyone. Go to simplysafe.com/Stephen A today. That's simplysafe.com/Stephen A. simplysafe.com/Stephen A.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show, the Friday of Labor Day weekend, which means college football is here. Michael Eaves, Matt Barrie in for Stephen A. Smith Show, which is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics. Taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. And ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Small business protection just got easier with more than 30 coverage options available. Progressive has you covered. More at progressivecommercial.com. Give us a call, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Eaves and I are huge college football people. Cannot wait for the college football season to start. And you know what I'm liking? We've seen this now, Eaves, over the past 3 years or so. Teams are really putting an emphasis on scheduling big early.
Yes.
And we get that again this week.
Yeah, and it's great for the fans. And overall it's great for the game because you get these big matchups early that get you hyped for week one. And then everything sort of just falls in line behind it. Let's shout out to ESPN for all the money we give these schools to hold these big games early.
Yep.
Pat on the back on that one. But yeah, because like to see Michigan, Notre Dame early, like to see Alabama, Louisville early, to see these meetings.
LSU, Miami,
even like Oregon State, Ohio State, like we want to see these teams from different conferences play some of the more recognizable names from other conferences. And it just adds to the excitement of, I'm hyped for the opening weekend. There's no question about that. Kentucky, Central Michigan. How bigger can it get, Matt,
it can't.
when it comes to openers?
It really can't. In fact, I think Game Day missed the boat there.
They did.
So many storylines to get to. Washington, Auburn's going to be a good test for both teams. I'm stunned college football can do this without 4 preseason games, but that's another story.
Who does
for
Arizona
another
State
show.
open with?
We have UTSA.
Who?
University of Texas, San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
10:30 Eastern. I'll be up for that. Week 2, we've got Michigan State. That's when the country's going to get a full dose of Herman sermon in front of everybody.
Baller. That's solid.
Herm's going to get him. Biggest storyline going into the college football season, Reggie in Texas. What do you have to say about some college football?
I just want you guys to talk about the point once I present it. I really think they might have a problem at Alabama because even though the Alabama name draws them and they produce, you got these guys who's going to school with that young man, who's talking with that young man, and he's alienated, and they understand, yeah, we got talent. We're growing up. We helped make Alabama. So I think that may become a problem such as it was in New England. Even though he had the ultimate decision, it affected the Super Bowl in a great way. And I think it may affect Alabama along down the line.
That's not a bad comparison whatsoever, Reggie, because when a coach does something to the dismay of the players, especially if it comes out of nowhere, as the Malcolm Butler situation was the Patriots, that there is an impact there. They're all trying to win the game, and I'm not saying from a human nature standpoint you cannot not be affected by it because it's stunning, you don't understand it, and you don't agree with it. Now, this one with Alabama, the quarterback situation has been going on longer, and the players from a competition standpoint, they see practice. If they believe that Tua's better than Jalen, then you know what? Tua's the guy. But if they felt that Jalen was done wrong in some capacity leading up to the competition, during the competition, or afterwards, they can be affected by that. That is it's just human nature from an emotional standpoint. That can be true.
We just don't know the inner workings of Alabama's locker room. And we don't know. I'm assuming Tua's well liked amongst this team. We know Jalen's. I don't know. No. We don't know. What we know, though, is that this thing's going to be played out in front of a national television audience like it was with Alabama and Georgia in the national championship. And the one thing that I will agree with, I appreciate the call, Reggie, the one thing I will agree with in terms of all of this Tua versus Jalen Hurts narrative, can we stop with Tua being a Heisman favorite?
Yeah, let's
He
ease up
might
on that.
end up winning the thing, but
To say he's a favorite is silly.
I've got a body of work that
Over
consists
one half of football.
A couple of throws. He's got a great arm, but
you know what it is? It's the Johnny Manziel factor. They think that from a dynamic standpoint, he will be the guy that's running all over the place and making these incredible throws and highlight plays, and he can do it the way Johnny did it. But Johnny was not a favorite when he won the Heisman that year. He came out of nowhere, but he had a big game against Alabama clearly, and that put him on the map, and then he just went on from there. I say he's Johnny Manziel-esque in some capacities, but he may actually be better than Johnny Manziel.
Oh, his arm over Johnny's? It's not comparable. Let's go to Cole in Nebraska. Hello, Cole.
Hey, guys. I just want to tell you right now, I know who the Big Ten Coach of the Year is, and that will be Scott Frost with your Big Ten champion Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Now, you're just saying that, Cole, because you want it to happen.
It's Fan Friday.
You can't look at the other teams in the Big Ten and say, you know what, Nebraska's better than all of those teams.
I just have faith that we'll at least win the West.
Look, Cole, it's going to get there, but let's just put it this way. Scott Frost is going to be trying to drive a Bugatti with Mazda parts.
Ooh.
Like, it's just not like the talent that was recruited under Mike Riley or lack thereof, it's not there yet. You got to let this thing bake for a little while, but I think Scott Frost eventually is going to be a coach that leads Nebraska back to where it was late 80s, early 90s. Speaking of Scott Frost, let's go to Ryan in Iowa, who has a post-Scott Frost question.
Hey, guys. I'm guessing you saw the UCF game last night. I got a two-part question. If UCF beats North Carolina in a couple weeks, will they start getting some love in the polls, be taken seriously? And the second part is, given the success of Baker Mayfield last year and this year going in the top pick, do you think that changes the narrative on a guy like Mackenzie Milton?
Let's go first question first.
Yeah.
If they do beat North Carolina, they will have won 15 games in a row. They currently have the longest active winning streak in college football, courtesy of last night's win at 14. So I guess my question would be, what do you consider respect? Will they be in the polls? I would assume they would be, and probably they should be. Okay, fine. That's fine. Whatever.
You'll get more respect out of me beating FAU. North Carolina's garbage.
Okay. We're gonna ask Jeff Saturday about that when he comes in later.
Please.
But because it's another team from a Power 5 conference, they beat Auburn at the end of the year, although, I mean, most people said Auburn wasn't mentally in it because they didn't want to be there. They thought to be in a college football playoff, whatever. They still beat them, so give them credit for that. You beat North Carolina, then yeah, I think just out of college, to respect to the game, you should give UCF some love as the longest win streak and put them in the poll. That's fine.
Well, they're 21st. They're ranked 21st now.
That's what I'm saying. But keep going. I'm saying, climbing the poll.
Right.
Yeah, that should be. But to say that that's going to put them in the national conversation early in the season for the college football playoff, no, because they still have to play their conference schedule, and whether it's fair or not, it doesn't stack up to the other conferences. It just doesn't.
Look, and yes, Mackenzie Milton's a great player. I don't know that. I mean, I've got to see more work from him this year to make sure that he wasn't a one-year thing. We saw Baker, it seems like, in college football for a decade, and he's a nice player. But look, UCF is a great story. But can I give you their schedule really quick?
Sure.
Really quick. South Carolina State, North Carolina, FAU, Pitt, nice game, SMU, Memphis, ECU, Temple, Navy, Cincinnati, USF.
Okay, what? I know where you're going. Let me stop you and give you one caveat.
All right.
If you're in a conference, you have to play teams in your conference.
I get that.
Okay, so there's only so much they can do there. And then if you try to schedule these Power 5 schools in your preseason schedule and they don't agree to play you, what else can you do except beat them when you have the opportunity? They beat Auburn
in a bowl
year.
game.
In a bowl game. They beat Auburn, though. They had an opportunity against a Power 5 school, and they beat them.
But how many times have we seen that where we see said team, let's go Louisville against Alabama, even though Teddy Bridgewater had a great game and Charlie Strong basically coached his way into Texas. Mm-hmm. We saw Urban Meyer in Utah do that to Florida. I mean, we see this happen.
Yes.
In bowl games. Bowl games, to me, aren't the criteria.
I'm not saying they're the criteria, but you can only beat them when you have an opportunity to play them.
And I get that. And here's what I say to the UCF people. First of all, congratulations on a great season. All undefeateds aren't created equal. They are just not. There's college football expansion in conferences every single year.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. Next time there's an opening in a Power 5, go get in it.
If they can, though. But until that time, they can only play who they can play. And that's my point. So,
TCU got in the Big 12.
Yeah, because the Big 12 was just sucking up teams anywhere they could at that point.
But TCU was UCF. They were going to the Rose Bowl and winning Rose Bowls. It's like, look, at some point when this thing opens up again, you can do something about it. Now, when everyone was
Where are they going to go, ACC?
Yeah, why not?
SEC going to go to the 16?
Yeah, let them in.
Okay, everybody's going to SEC.
Here's the point, though. And Gary Patterson would be first to tell you this, when TCU finally got into the Big 12, they had some down years because you know what they quickly realized? At the time they were in the Mountain West, Mountain West talent wasn't Big 12 talent.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
And I get it. UCF, great season. National champions. Let's pump the brakes on that. I mean, let's stop. Coming up next, with the return of college football season, Eaves and I's wives know each other. They know what we do for a living. I'd be curious how he stocks up house credit at home before football season starts. That coming up next. Plus, Urban Meyer had some things to say today, and I don't know why he just won't stop saying stuff. It's been a long offseason without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. And FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. They even have preseason fantasy contests running up to week 1 of the NFL season. So right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Always loving the heart of the city. Michael Eaves, Matt Barrie, and for Stephen A. Smith. The flu could be just around the corner. Be prepared with a flu shot from CVS Pharmacy, including those at Target or Minute Clinic. Get your flu shot today. No appointment necessary. Visit CVS.com/flu for details. We've got you covered at CVS Pharmacy. Baseball season rolls along. Tune in tomorrow as the defending champion Astros host the Angels, presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and the ESPN app. So, Eaves, I'm taking Ashley Barrie to dinner, early dinner tonight, because I'm going to let her know at this dinner that she's about to become a football widow again for the next 4 months. And I think it's important we all do this.
Yeah, you know, I will say this about my wife, Crystal. She's very understanding of this time of year. One, she's a football fan. Like, my wife is more into the NFL than I am, probably, right? At this point in my life.
Yeah.
It's whatever. Because she's a Raiders fan. And she grew up in Oakland. She's a Raiders fan. So she's into it. But she also understands that come this time of the year, I'm going to be in my basement with 3 TVs on, watching multiple games.
That's right.
Throughout the day. She just understands that. So if there's anything that she needs me to do, she plans to have me do it during the week, or she'll find out what time is the first game on that you want to watch on Saturday. I'll tell her. She's like, okay, fine. Can we go do this? Da-da? Yes.
Yep.
So she's worked around me, to her credit.
See, I've used the NFL as a bargaining chip, because for me, I'm a college football druggie.
Yes.
I like the NFL. I'm a college football nut. And so what I tend to do is I leverage my Saturdays, because I get off of work early, I go home, take a nap, watch college football till 2 a.m. I then use Sundays. Like, you know what? NFL starts at this, but why don't we go to brunch and have lunch, since I watched football all day yesterday?
Yes. Good move.
Yeah,
that's solid.
You can use it to your
It's
advantage.
a solid move.
And then
right
you're
there.
right. Midweek, always check in.
Yes. What we got going on? What are we doing?
You got a dry cleaning I need to pick up? I'll get you dry cleaning.
See, that's the thing. And we're giving you sports information and opinion today, America, but we're also giving the men and the spouses out there tools to keep your relationship healthy.
Get a grocery list. Seriously. Like, you know what? I would love to cook for you tonight.
Ooh.
Like,
well,
I would let me.
You have to be able to cook.
You got to be able to cook. But just throw out the gesture and be like, you know what? Why don't we just date? Let's go on a date night.
Yeah. Hey, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go to dinner tonight?
Wednesday night date night. I mean, that buys you equity.
That's solid.
Until the NFL playoffs.
That's solid.
And then after that, we can't do anything for you.
So now this weekend would be a little interesting for me, because we also have golf going on.
Yes.
So I'll have golf on with the college football. So that's going to be an interesting Saturday, to say the least. But what is your go-to beverage?
Yeah.
Your go-to snack?
I love this question. I always open up with a Bloody Mary. So I get off of work at 9 a.m., open up with a spicy Bloody Mary, and then snack. That varies.
Mine's easy.
It depends on what I text my wife to bring me.
Mine's a John Daly, which is Arnold Palmer with vodka.
Yeah.
And Tostitos hint of lime tortillas with Sabra hummus. That's it. I'm good all day.
Look at us making your life better. Coming up next, Aaron Donald got paid. Jeff Saturday joins us live on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Is that hairline slowly starting to move backwards? Any bald spots, people? How will you feel a year from now if it's business as usual up there? I ask you, why do guys turn to weird solutions or do nothing when they can turn to medicine and science? 4hims.com, a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and other wellness supplements for men. That's the way to go, y'all. Thanks to science, boldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. No waiting room, no awkward in-person doctor visits. Save hours by going to 4hims.com. Order now. My listeners get a trial month for Hims for just $5 today, right now while supplies last. See website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's 4hims, FORHIMS.com/Stephen A. 4hims.com/Stephen A. That's with a PH, not a V.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Michael Eaves, Matt Barrie of SportsCenter fame. Filling in for Stephen A. on the final Friday before football season starts, joined by NFL analyst Jeff Saturday. And it was the big story at the top of the show, and it will be the big story now because the deal is done. Aaron Donald and the absolute absurd contract. He got $87 million guaranteed money. Your reaction to the news out of it?
Worth every penny. Worth every penny. Seriously. Listen, most dominant defensive player in the game. And we can talk about the way the game has changed with it being a quarterback-driven league, and you need a pass rusher, you need an end, you need a corner, you need all these things. Guess what? You can slide, you can take a corner out of the game by throwing the other way. What you can't take out of the game is a guy who's that dominant on the inside, where he can line up over the center, he can line up over either guard, he can move, he can do those things. And now with Sue coming in with him, it's going to make it even more difficult to try to double this guy. But he dominates football games and takes them over. And here's what you can't do. If you're the quarterback and you start moving those feet, that ball's not nearly as accurate. This guy has earned it each year, keeps earning it, and you just hope that he gets back to that quick, because obviously being out the preseason, it's going to be tough to come right in and play. In fact, he might even play week one.
No, they said he's going to play.
Well,
he's going to be ready.
Yeah, exactly.
But what does that say?
Yeah, exactly. How many snaps are you going to get? But by the end of the season, man, this defense with with all the additions they've had, the corners they put in, this thing could be serious business.
We want to ask you about the expectations now on the Rams now that they have Aaron Donald in the fold a bit later. But I do want to ask you this, because you take a look at the highest paid players in the NFL right now in terms of guaranteed money when they sign their deals. There's only two guys above Aaron Donald. They're both quarterbacks. Of course, Aaron Rodgers just got his money, and Matt Ryan as well. So my question is, do you see this trend now, Jeff, where players are not trying to be just the highest paid player at their position? They're trying to be the highest paid player based on where they rank in the league of overall importance and ability, because most people would say Aaron Donald is more valuable than half the quarterbacks in this league.
Absolutely.
And now he's getting paid as if he's the third best player in the entire NFL.
Yeah, I think people are beginning to understand that this is a position-driven league. And when you have guys who are dominant at a certain position, whether that be, your blind side tackle, whether that be that inside defensive tackle, that rush in who can give you 15 sacks a year, or the shutdown corner, right? Exactly. You start getting into its position. So not every player in every position is going to be able to max this out the way these guys are. But if you're one of the top 5 players in our game, irrespective of position, these are deals that I'm going to are going to begin to expect. Is that everybody's going to wait for their money. They understand what they can get done in a game, how they can impact it, all of those things. But again, this guy's been patient on his deal, right? He's waited. He's done the due deal. I mean, held out, came out, played, did it again, was willing to hold out again. Khalil Mack's going to have to go through the same process, right? And when I was playing, whether it was Walt Jones or whether it was Orlando Pace or whoever it was, somebody's got to be willing to do that to get the number that everybody thinks they should be at.
Right.
These guys have done it. They're waiting for their time, and they're maximizing the deal when it gets there.
Jeff Saturday, Michael Eaves, Matt Barrie in for Stephen A. Smith on the Stephen A. Smith Show. You brought up Khalil Mack. I believe in the NFL when there's deals that happen. We always find this in quarterbacks. Well, Matt Ryan signed this deal. That's only going to help X player, in this case Aaron Rodgers. I believe this deal hurts Khalil Mack because I don't think anyone's sitting here, and tell me if I'm wrong, that Khalil Mack is a better or more valuable player than Aaron Donald.
No, I completely agree.
So it's at the ceiling, not the floor.
Right. Yeah, I think for him, this is the same way Aaron Rodgers just set the ceiling, not the floor for quarterbacks,
sure.
Right? If you're coming up after Aaron Rodgers, you can't, if you're Kirk Cousins, you can't go, hey, I'm better than him.
Right.
I'm going to make this money, right? So people put that into perspective. So if you're Khalil Mack, but I can guarantee you Khalil Mack believes he's up in that same vicinity.
Does this advance the conversation?
It definitely advances the conversation because now you have a defensive lineman who is impacting the game at that level. Khalil Mack, whether he's at linebacker, at end, whatever, however you look at it, he can have that same impact. The issue for him is there's been no movement from the team perspective. And so, whereas when you're talking about Aaron Donald, both sides kept talking about, hey, we want to get the deal done. We want to get it done. We got to figure it out. We have to figure it out. At this point, it seems to be in an impasse with the Raiders, and they're kind of drawing a line in the sand. But again, in my opinion, this is good either way because now you go, hey, we're not willing to pay anywhere near this, so trade him and get the max value we can from him, which in my opinion is worth 2 1s and maybe even a 2 or a 3 with that. I mean, I'm being honest with you. If I got a shot to go win it now, and I feel like that position in itself can take me over the top, I'm going to get him for that. Well, I mean, what difference does it make? I mean, Bill Poynter and I talked about it yesterday with Cornelius Bennett, Biscuit, who played with me, but in the Buffalo deal, and he feels like that player single-handedly put them in the Super Bowls that he got to, right? He made everybody, Bruce Smith included, Hall of Fame caliber because of what he could do.
Daryl Talley.
So you look at that team. So if you're that team, now you understand what the value of the contract is going to be and what you can give up for it. So I think either way for Khalil Mack, this deal getting done is going to help him at least solidify where he is.
Well, wouldn't you not say that based on the overall rosters for both teams, Rams and Raiders, who, by the way, play Monday night on the opener and second game of the doubleheader on ESPN?
It
is, right?
High dollar.
Could you not say that Khalil Mack is more valuable to the Raiders than Aaron Donald is to the Rams because the Rams have more pieces, especially in the defense, that the Raiders don't have?
No, because here's the thing. From a defensive perspective, I think you're a lot further away for the Raiders than you are for the Rams.
Correct. In terms of contending for a championship,
exactly.
Absolutely. But wouldn't you want that cornerstone on your defense for the next 5 years?
Well, that's my issue. If McKenzie believes that he is the cornerstone, that would be the only reason we're at an impasse, in my opinion, is they're telling him, you're not that guy.
He's not that dude.
You're not that guy. So that to me is what you're telling me as a team.
Do you think he's that dude?
I do think he's that dude. I think he's a baller. I think he is that dude. But if Oakland does not feel that way, right? If you're sitting in and you're saying, hey, the Raiders say, hey, we think you are an excellent player. We do not think you are a game changer. We're not going to get to that number. And you can go get 2 1s or 2 1s and a 3 or whatever that is. You can supplement your defense, and you're better in the long run than having one dominant player that everybody can work to. And that's the reality of the game, is that everybody thinks it's just one piece or one part, but that's not the truth. The reason Aaron Donald is going to work is because of the pieces around him on the back end. With Sue, all the pieces and parts.
Sue in Miami didn't work.
That's right.
He did one guy, they dumped the money for, and it's like, you can't.
It doesn't work.
No.
You can't build a team that way. So if Reggie McKenzie's telling him that, hey, I can make you a high paid player, just not the highest paid, but I'm going to give you a much better team. That was a conversation Bill Poley and I had, right? When I walked in, I wanted to be the highest paid center in the game. I sit down to me and says, Saturday, I love you. You're an incredible football player. We'll probably one day your name will be up in potential Hall of Fame, all these kinds, but I can't make you the number 8 center. Bottom line, I can't make you top 3, top 4, but you're going to have a better career long term because you're going to have the Peyton Manning, the Reggie Waynes, the Marvin Harrisons, the Dallas Clarks on offense, the Edgerrin James or Joe Addais. I'm going to have guys around you, pieces, parts, be better because of everybody around you. But you got to be willing.
How did you put the value of, you have a short window as a professional athlete to make as much possible, but you also want to win a championship?
Because Peyton Manning was sticking his hands under his rear.
I realized how good I really was. I was like, you know what? I am pretty good. I don't know if I'm that good. but here's the thing for me. I didn't want to go lose. And the teams that I knew that had serious interest in me, I knew I was going to go lose. I didn't want to lose. I wanted to win more. And listen, I'm still going to be wealthy, right? It's true. Just level of wealth for me at that point for my wife and I of staying in Indianapolis with our friends, with everybody that we had grown up together meant more to me than having the title of the highest paid. Now, that number is different for everybody else. But for me at that time, I didn't want to go play for a quarterback that I knew couldn't go win championships. I didn't want to go play with guys who I didn't think could get in. So I was like, you know what? That's a great point. I'm okay with that. And the deal was done literally by that afternoon.
Really?
But I had to get, but again, that relationship from GM to player and coach to player.
And that's culture.
But seemingly that relationship is not existent in Oakland with McKenzie and Jason not talking to Khalil Mack because he's not in camp. They're taking this hardline stand.
Yeah, this whole ice out thing don't work, man. Guys want to know that you're in it for me. I want to know that you care about my family and my prosperity as much as I care about the team's prosperity, right? Yes. It doesn't have to be, it can be inclusive, not exclusive. And I feel like that's when teams start hardlining. This dude has balled for you, man. He trains in Oakland. Like, what is he not doing?
Former defensive player of the year, pro at 2 positions.
Yeah,
like,
what is he not
He's like,
done
what do
for
I got to
you?
do?
That's right.
You don't know what's happened since John Gruden took over and what the disconnect is there, but we know there is a new head coach there, and who knows how philosophy fits in. I want to ask you this, because Saturday, 4 p.m., the deadline, it's an awful day in the NFL from the standpoint of over 1,000 players are going to be unemployed. They're going to be out of a job. You've never had to worry about this, but I'm curious from where you were in the locker room, what's cut day and cut weekend like?
No, it's brutal, and I did worry about it. I got cut I didn't even make it to cut day, my first time in Baltimore, and I worried about it my first few years. And Bill Polian will laugh at me, and Howard Mudd used to laugh at my O-line coach, but every year I would call him, hey, I got anything to worry about? Is there anything? Right. And they're always drafting guys to take your spot. That's just the nature of the game. But it's a brutal day. And I'll tell you, it's brutal more for the families that are involved. Cause you do life with guys, man. I mean, you're watching their families have children and their wives and getting married. You're in weddings. I mean, all of those things. And then in one afternoon, everybody's gone and they may be to another city. Their career might be over in football. And it's sobering because it is unique in this is that it happens every year. And this is not something that just, it's just, every once in a while there's a bad day at the office or, at a major corporation, they're going to have layoffs every year. And 33% of your team is gone. And that's just by numbers, right? A third of your team, the attrition rate, that's what it boils down to. And it's tough, man. Relationships, it's a hard day, not only for guys losing their jobs, but guys are staying around, wives, kids, all of those things come into effect. And that's what fans don't see. They don't know that your son just lost his best buddy. They went to, kindergarten together, man. And it's done, man. There is no, I'm sorry. Nobody's getting these letters. It's not this warm, fuzzy things. It's you sit down in the office. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, man, you're just not quite good enough. That hurts. I don't care what level you are. I don't care when someone looks at you and says, hey, you're not good enough and this is all you've done and you've given it your all. It's a sobering day and a tough day.
How long does it take to become numb to it?
You don't ever get numb. Ever. Really? Man, 14 years, I never got numb. I mean, it was, and even my last year in Green Bay, when I didn't really know many people, I was just there it's still a tough day because you see guys hugging at their lockers, saying goodbye. And the truth of the matter is the majority of those guys you will not see again. I mean, everybody's like, oh, man, we'll catch up, we'll keep up. But when he goes to whatever other city and you go do your thing and life of the game starts, it's all encompassing.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Absolutely.
It happens to everybody.
How bad's North Carolina going to be this year in football?
Stop.
Wow.
How are you going to end this conversation with this nonsense?
Like 5.5 wins, maybe?
Hey, man, we're balling, dude. You gotta stop hating, dude. We're putting it on.
We should do a bet.
I'm with you, bro. Let's get this.
We should do a bet.
I'm in.
North Carolina, Kentucky, Arizona State. Who has the most wins this season?
Oh, it's ASU.
No way.
It's ASU.
No way. I'll go Carolina.
I go Kentucky.
I'll go Carolina.
Oh, all right, well, look at us all going out of the with their alma mater.
We'll go dinner.
Dinner. Done.
Dinner. I'm in.
West Hartford Center. Here we come.
Here we are.
Look out, Brico. Daddy's getting bossed. Jeff Saturday, always good perspective with us.
Appreciate y'all.
Tough week of the NFL, but it means we're one step closer to the regular season. And Discover Card believes anniversary should be a time of celebration, not obligation. That's why they think annual fees are ridiculous. And now, just for giving them a try, Discover will give new card members a 1-year anniversary gift they'll never forget. At the end of your first year, they'll match all the cash back you've earned, dollar for dollar, no caps, no catches. Try and believe it at discover.com/match. Only for new card members. Limitations apply.
Do you treat all your house guests the way you treat Jeff Saturday as it relates to his alma mater?
I thought I was very kind to Jeff Saturday.
Fairly inconsiderate and rude.
Every time he comes in, comes on Sports Center, I always get him about North Carolina. I mean, that thing with Larry Fedora back in the day, ooh-wee, that was the next big ACC renaissance.
They had 2 quarterbacks who were supposed to be really good.
Trubisky.
And was it Marquise Williams? What was his name before him?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Right.
And then Jefferson transferred in there from LSU.
It just never panned out. But you know what? Like, I feel some of his pain because Jeff and I come from the sort of same thing. We went to basketball schools in North Carolina, Kentucky.
No question.
But the fan base wants the football team to be so good. We've wanted it for so long, and we just can't get there for a number of reasons. And so I feel his pain. I know what that is like.
Here's what I've never understood. This is one of the great mysteries in all of sports. Why is it that a Kentucky, a North Carolina, a Duke, and a Kansas, why can they not use the national attention and facilities of one program to help another?
They don't equate.
Kansas might be the worst football program in the country, yet they're a perennial power in basketball. Now, I say this about Alabama. Why is it on the flip side? Well, they're starting to do some things.
It should be
Avery
easier
Johnson
to go from football to basketball than basketball to football because it takes less players to have a great basketball team than it does football.
But it's still money. Kentucky's a brand because of basketball.
Kentucky has money, and the facilities now in Lexington are ridiculous, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. Like, I had a tour of the new facilities last year. I went up there. Shout out to Susan Lax from the SID department there in Lexington. It looks like NFL facilities.
Yeah.
The locker room is just state of the art. The weight room is ridiculous.
And that's not from Guy Morris.
No. It is not. Like, it's phenomenal. But here's the deal. There are a lot of other programs that have nice facilities as well. Like the University of Memphis just unveiled their new locker room for their team. The guys went crazy, and it's phenomenal. But it doesn't always equate to getting those top players consistently and getting that culture beyond where it's been for decades.
Yeah, but and say like nowadays in college football, when we would used to do Sports Center on the road and they'd take the show on the road, we'd be at all these campuses across the country, and you'd be like, my gosh, LSU, Clemson, everybody. Then Michigan. I'd go back to my alma mater and look at Arizona State. It's like, we're not close. Now we are.
Okay.
And we can now compete with some of the best facilities, not only in the conference, but in the country. But recruits want to see that.
Yes.
It's puzzling to me how you can be such a powerful brand in college sports and not be able to attract a player if you're a basketball school to an NFL talent. Because it's all there. I get it. Arizona, great at basketball. It's Tucson. Not many really good players want to go. But a place like Lexington, where you're getting the best of the best. And I just don't get how they don't. North Carolina, to me, has zero excuses.
Well, but think about it. If you're the kid, you want to go to a school where that team is the focal point of everything. And when you're at basketball schools such as Kentucky or football schools such as Alabama, those other teams don't matter as much. They just don't. It's the culture. Kentucky basketball culture goes back to the 50s, to the 40s, right? And now I will say this. Kentucky football had a tremendous window way back in the day because they had Bear Bryant as a coach, but he and Adolph Rupp didn't get along, so he left, went to Texas A&M, and then eventually went to Alabama, of course, and became Hall of Famer. But there were times where Kentucky were contending for the Sugar Bowl. I mean, Derek Ramsey led Kentucky to the Sugar Bowl back in the late 70s. In the early 80s, you thought it was going to happen, and it just didn't. And since then, Kentucky's been trying to get it back, and they've took chances on coaches they shouldn't have and things of that nature. But now they believe They're on the right track with Mark Stoops. The football facilities are there. There's no question about that. But you play in the SEC.
Yeah.
It's kind of harder to flip that around in the SEC. The good news is that they are in the SEC East, but back in the day, the SEC used to be the harder division because you had Tennessee, you had Florida, you had Georgia. All three of those teams were contending.
And South Carolina was winning 11 games.
Right now, you only have really Georgia, right, that you have to fear in the SEC East. So this is a great opportunity with Kentucky this year, especially with Benny Snell, the running back. He is one of the leading contenders for SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and maybe, I'm putting this out there, maybe a dark horse for the Heisman.
Okay, well, if you guys can get it done under Jaron Lorenzen, I don't know when you're going to get it done.
Whoa.
Another happening today at Ohio State, day before they open up their season against Oregon State at home, noon Eastern, ESPN. We thought we had moved on from this in terms of Urban Meyer. He comes out today with a really bizarre statement, essentially with 3 bullet points. First, I was not suspended because I knew about or condoned Zach Smith's alleged domestic abuse, and then he would go in and quotes things from the investigation. And then one of the second bullet points was, second, as the report found, and President Drake said, I did not lie at Big Ten Media Days. And then his third bullet point was, third, my fault was not in taking action sooner against a troubled employee about his work-related issues. Here's what I'm not understanding about this. You had the Big Ten press conference or the Big Ten Media Days disaster.
Yes.
Then you get put on paid administrative leave. Mm-hmm. You don't say anything. Then you get levied the suspension. Then you have that press conference disaster. Mm-hmm. Then you're essentially forced into making an apology. At that point, Urban Meyer needed to go away. Stay away until you get to go back to practice next week after the Oregon State game and resume coaching 3 weeks later. Mm-hmm. This, to me, of all the dumb things that he's done in this little cycle, whether you agree or disagree with him, they just haven't been smart. This might rank up there as the dumbest.
Here's what it is, okay? And also, this statement today comes on the heels of Zach Smith going off on Twitter a couple days ago in this tweet storm that was just also, dude, sit down somewhere, right? Here is what is readily apparent to me. Urban Meyer does not believe that Courtney Smith was a victim. He doesn't believe it. And all of his actions since then line up with that because the narrative is getting created that he didn't do enough for a victim. In his mind, she wasn't. Whether that's true or not, whether he has the information that someone else doesn't have, whether he believes Zach Smith more than he believes Zach Smith's wife, Courtney Smith, in his mind, based on his actions, based on when someone asked him about them at that press conference, asked him about Courtney Smith, and his response to that, it's clear he does not believe that she is a victim.
Well, I'll take it to this. He certainly doesn't believe he should have been punished.
Correct.
I don't know, and you touched on something there. I don't know what Urban believes or doesn't, but I know that he doesn't need to be sharing that with everyone. He can think what he wants about the situation, what he thinks of Zach and Courtney and their relationship, and he can think whatever he wants. Just do it by yourself. Because now what you have done effectively, less than 24 hours away from the opener, is you have once again taken the attention off your players, who, by the way, have nothing to do with this.
No.
Ryan Day, who's an interim head coach at one of the most powerful brands in college sports, which you've now done 24 hours before kickoff, is you've again made it about you when you should have just gone silent and returned on Monday to work and just taken a seat for the next few weeks.
From a PR standpoint, Ohio State has gotten this wrong multiple times, and most of it has been from Urban Meyer.
He's the leader. He's the head coach. Today, this tweet, this statement, completely bizarre. Tune in this Sunday as the defending champ Astros host the Angels, presented by Indeed. Coverage Sunday Night Baseball begins 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app, and at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. Coming up, week 1 of the college football season, and we're going to sort out what teams to believe in and what teams are frauds. That's next. Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Michael Eaves, Matt Barrie in for Stephen A.
Ricky always wanted to play baseball in the majors. He was playing catch before he could walk, practically lived in the batting cages. He was behind home plate more than he was home. And one day, after all that hard work, he found himself walking into a Major League Baseball stadium. After buying a ticket at the front gate, a nosebleed seat obscured by a pole, but he was in there. No, Ricky never did play in the big leagues, but he did switch his car insurance to Geico, proud partner of Major League Baseball, which saved him a lot. So, all in all, things were good.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Michael Eaves, Matt Barrie on a Friday in for Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and ESPN News. Surprise a friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. Also, give us a call, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. We're going to play a little game here, and we're going to expand the game from not only college, so we can go college, NFL team, and NFL player.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, now that makes it interesting.
So now we're going to play a game called For Real or Fraud. I will give you a team, either in college or the NFL, or a player in the NFL. You give me, are they for real or a fraud? And then give me the reason why. 888-729-3776 if you want to play along. I will start with a team for you, and we'll start in college.
Okay.
Preseason ranked number 8. University of Miami, for real or fraud?
That's a solid over-under right there.
Thank you.
I'm going to take the over. I'm going to say for real. Maybe because it's a little bit of, I wouldn't say blind faith, but in what Mark Richt started there from a cultural standpoint, and now the program believes it's legitimate again. And when you have that belief, and clearly there's talent on that roster, that matters a lot as it relates to what the season is going to do. Even if you lost, some good players to the NFL, as all good programs do, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, they know what that's like. I think, especially in the ACC, all right, you put them in the conference we're talking about here, I'm going to go for real.
I have them losing this weekend to LSU.
Okay. Not terrible.
That doesn't mean they're a fraud. I just don't think that they're a top 10 team program yet. I think you hit on something perfect there with what Mark Richt is trying to do. I think they're going to be for real soon enough. But right now, I have them a little fraudy.
Really?
Little fraud.
A little fraudy.
Yeah.
All right, let me give you an NFL player.
Okay.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oof. That's good.
You're welcome.
Good pull. God, fraud's harsh.
It's either or.
It's either, you're right.
For real
you're right.
or fraud.
You know what?
Or.
I'm going to go for real on
Okay.
Jimmy G.
Okay.
Because, look, he had great tutelage and coaching in the Patriot system and Tom Brady. I saw enough out of him last year to put him, I would say, okay, let's break him down.
Okay.
Top 16 or 17 and lower in the league? 17 to 32. 1 through 16 or 17 to 32?
I'd say he's, wow, I have to think of every team. Just quarterback, not team.
Just quarterback.
I think he's closer to 17 than he is to 15.
Okay, so in that thing, I think he's for real in that he's right at the halfway point of quarterbacks in the league.
Okay.
So I'm going to go for real on Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
What a tremendous question that was.
I would probably go borderline fraud on. I think I'll go fraud. And it's not his, and I'll say it, I'll say it this way. I think the expectations that people are putting on him are unfair to him.
Yeah, correct.
So on that premise, I would go fraud. But that's not directly towards him specifically, but more the expectations being placed upon him.
Those are two good ones out of the gate. 888-729-3776, 888-SAY-ESPN if you want to give us a for real or fraud. My next one to you.
Yep.
Jim Harbaugh. For real or fraud?
Now, this is a tough one for me because I love his father, Jack Harbaugh,
Yeah.
who used to coach football at Western Kentucky University, which was the closest college to where I grew up that kind of mattered in most capacities. So I've always been a little biased towards the Harbaugh family because of Jack. You know what? I'm going to go with the numbers. Fraud. The first 3 seasons here in Ann Arbor, Michigan has fared no better than third in the Big Ten.
In their division. Forget the
in
conference.
their division. You're absolutely right. No better than third. When he came in, that move was supposed to shake up the power structure of the Big Ten, right? Michigan was supposed to be contending for the playoffs pretty soon. They had that one season where they really contended, but hey, they lost those games, right? So I'm going to go fraud. I'm going to go fraud on Jim Harbaugh as we speak.
1-5 combined against Michigan State and Ohio State.
Think about the other
that
coaches.
doesn't get it done.
Think about the other coaches who were there before him and had better records than 1-5 against those two teams and got axed. So I'd say fraud.
Right now, I agree with you. Stanford, for real. San Francisco 49ers, for real.
Yes.
But the thing with Harbaugh is he tends to outstay and outwear his welcome. And while there was a disagreement between 49ers management, he ran himself out of San Francisco.
Well, see, I think it's easier to run yourself out of town in an NFL job than as a college job, because in college you run everything.
And you recycle the roster every 3.5 years.
So the turnover, so the guys who, by the time they get tired of your antics, they're gone.
Yeah.
NFL is not the same way. So I think, I'm not saying he's going to lose his job anytime soon. That's not what I'm saying. But just for the expectations and what he's produced so far, fraud.
We're 3 for 3 now.
Yeah, these are all pretty good.
Should we take a call and see if someone else for us out there?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Let's go Nick in Virginia. We're playing for real or fraud. Nick, what do you have?
Hey, guys, I got 2. I got Washington football and Wisconsin football.
All right.
All right, I already know you're going to take for real in Wisconsin. I know that. And I think you're going to go fraud in Washington.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Hey, I feel dumb for saying this. I don't know what I'm missing in this Washington-Auburn game on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be close.
Really?
I think Auburn is going to mop them up. I'm missing some. I know Jake Browning's great. Miles Gaskin, good running. I don't know. I see Auburn.
I'm not saying Auburn won't win the game, but I don't think it'll be a blowout. I really don't. And I think, for whatever reason, maybe it's some Pac-12 bias I had because I used to do games out there for several years. I think Washington is better than they're getting credit for, even though, where they ranked right now?
Like 6th.
They ranked 6th, right?
Yeah.
They're in the playoff recently. So, I don't know. I feel like there's always a reason to count out Pac-12 teams if it's not USC, because Stanford has been
100%.
disappointing several times when they were expected to be really good. Washington up there as well. Oregon was a team that couldn't quite get it done.
Herm's got us. Don't worry. He'll get
okay, we'll see what Arizona State. But I would go. I'm going to go for real on both of them.
No.
I'm going to go for real on both of them.
I think Wisconsin.
If Washington wins the Pac-12, that's for real, right?
We did this show together the other day, right? When I went all in on Wisconsin being overlooked at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Big Ten between Wisconsin, Michigan, Penn State. Well, no, Penn State's a fraud. Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Michigan, all 3 could be playoff teams.
I think Michigan's a fraud.
Oh, I don't.
Can I put that out there right there?
Oh, I don't.
Well, here's the thing. If Jim Harbaugh's a fraud, then the team's got to be a fraud.
Fraud to this point. We haven't played the schedule out yet.
Okay, fraud to this point.
When they're sitting,
okay.
I mean, they're going to go into Notre Dame and win.
Okay, what does that say, though? I think Notre Dame's a fraud.
Wow. We 2 people? Kentucky and Arizona State? Do we go to the call, or do you have another one for me?
Let's go to a call.
Okay, let's find out who Dave in Kentucky. What do you have?
Go Cats.
Go Cats, go Cats. I think a fraud would be Ohio State, and the reason being is I'm looking at body of work. Don't they have 2 wins against the SEC? And they would have only had 1 if Ryan Mallett, I believe, at Arkansas would have caught or got that fumble. So that's my fraud.
Yeah, but they got a national championship in 2014. Hard to be a fraud if you've got a national championship.
Well, no, the fraud would be the expectation for this season. That's what
I think they're loaded.
Yes.
Top to bottom, roster-wise, take Urban Meyer and what's coming out of there right now in terms of how this team is a playoff team top to bottom in roster. Let's go to Brandon in North Carolina. He's got an NFL for real or fraud. Who do you have, Brandon?
Yeah, I was wanting to know what you guys thought on the Panthers this year, the Carolina Panthers.
Well, let me guess, Brandon. You think they're for real?
Oh, of course I do.
Okay, all right. Just make sure we get that out of the way up front. No problem. Fraud.
So do I. I do. I love Luke Kuechly. I have a hard time buying Cam Newton. Even though he's a specimen of an athlete.
But Cam has not been their issue when they've fallen short of expectations. He's not been the issue.
You're right.
So I'm not putting that on him, but I just think you take a look. I mean, New Orleans is going to be really good, I think. Atlanta's going to be really good. So just in the NFC South alone, they're going to have a hard time winning their division because of those two other teams. Tampa Bay, they're whatever. But yeah, I got to go fraud on the Panthers in 2018.
Like Curtis Samuel stays healthy, and McCaffrey matures a little bit. I mean, you're looking at 9-7.
Okay,
I just have them as slightly fraud.
Let me give you an NFL player
I
before
love
we
it.
go back
Let's
to
go.
the fraud.
Yep.
Sam Darnold.
For real. In terms of potential.
Okay.
In terms of potential, he is absolutely for real. But when he gets named starter for the Jets, Jets fans had best be ready for 2 years of well below mediocrity.
Yeah. What you saw, I'm not trying to compare him to these particular players, but just examples of what we saw when you have rookies start their first year. Peyton Manning.
Troy Aikman.
Didn't he set a record for most interceptions?
Yeah.
Right? Troy Aikman. And those two guys end up in the Hall of Fame. I'm not suggesting that Sam Darnold is going to do that, but that is the expectation of a young rookie quarterback coming into a league, especially for a team who didn't have a lot of success prior to.
Yeah, they were never so dominant everywhere else they could afford to start a rookie.
Right. Yeah.
I think he's got as much potential as any of these players drafted. But again, what do we know about NFL first round draft pick? It's 50-50. You had 4 this year in the first round. Statistics say that either Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, or Lamar Jackson aren't going to work out. That's what the stats say. Coming up next, we are going to give you our college football playoff picks. I don't know if any of we're going to have to check the tape, see if one of our frauds is going to be in our Final Four. I think one of yours might have been. No, you went positive on both of those.
There you go.
All right, it's been a long offseason without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. They even have preseason fantasy contests running up to week 1 of the NFL. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up, FanDuel/Stephen A. FanDuel.com/Stephen A. Age and state restrictions apply. College football playoff Final Four coming up next on the Stephen A. Show.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Just looking at some of these calls on for real or fraud. We had some good one. Baker Mayfield was a call from Dan in Iowa. We had West Virginia. Wish we can get to those running up against it. Final Friday before the college football season. So we will end today's show for the South Carolina folks. Barnyard, thanks for listening. College football playoff picks.
Clemson.
1.
Georgia.
2.
Wisconsin.
3.
Washington.
Oh, get out of here with Washington.
The Washington Huskies.
Where did all this come from?
The Great Northwest.
All right. Good. I don't think Pac-12 is going to be left out of the playoff again.
Ooh.
As a Pac-12 guy, I don't like it. All right. Alabama.
Okay.
Clemson.
Okay.
Michigan. Wisconsin.
No way. No way. Stop.
I'm telling you.
You think Michigan and Wisconsin are the 2 best teams in the Big Ten?
I do, and I think things are going to go their way. This is Jim Harbaugh's year. I am
here's the thing.
All in on Michigan.
As long as he's been there, the gripe has always been he doesn't have a quarterback. Well, allegedly he has a quarterback now, so it better be his year. I'm not saying he's in danger of losing his job. Don't put it out there like that. I'm not trying to put it out there like that. But after all this, it better be his year than if Shea Patterson is that good.
Clemson's going to win the national championship. Clemson's defensive line is one of the best defensive units we've seen in the last decade in college football.
So here's what's funny about my list is that you pointed out Washington being the thing. I don't have Alabama going to the playoff.
Which is stunning to me.
Right. That's where that, to me, for a lot of people listeners, like, you don't have Alabama, and I'll tell you why. I think Georgia is going to be better than they were last year.
I don't.
I think Alabama has, I don't want to say issues. They may have some internal issues if this quarterback thing don't play out right.
Why?
If it don't play out right.
How is Georgia going to...
And they still got to play Auburn.
How's Georgia going to be better without Roquan Smith, first-round pick, Chubb, and Sony Michel?
So every time Alabama sends players to the NFL, we expect them to fill the space.
You know how long
you don't think Georgia? No.
You know how long it took Saban to get it to that point?
Dude, no.
Kirby hadn't been there long enough. He's recruiting well, and he's got talent. This is going to be Nick Saban's best Alabama team yet with Tua.
Georgia.
Oh, man.
But this is the first time they've ever had the possibility of any controversy inside that team ever.
Can we be put on the show after the football playoff selections made so we can revisit all of this?
I don't think anyone associated with this show is going to care about it.
Because, well, they will. I care, and I got to get my dinner from you on Saturday about ASU football.
For that, we don't need to come on TV for that. Me, you, and Jeff, we know that.
About to drop some Herman on you.